Welcome back to the Lyons Share. I'm Mark Elliott, joined by the founder of Mitch Lyons Wealth. That, of course, is Mitch Lyons. Glad you're with us today. I'm Mark Elliott. Again, the website is MitchLyonsWealth.com. Mitch's book is there. The movie is there. It's MitchLyonsWealth.com, Lyons, MitchLyonsWealth.com. We're going to talk about the retirement paycheck predicament today on the program. And it's kind of an interesting thing. We've talked about the 401k is not a retirement plan before. IRAs, 401ks are fantastic. The money you've saved in there is fantastic. There could be some tax issues if it's all on the traditional side, that's for sure. Mitch and the team can certainly help you with that. Figure out, boy, before I hit RMD age of 73 or 75, should I maybe turn some of that traditional savings into Roth monies, pay some tax now so I'm not in such a maybe a hurtful situation with taxes in my 70s. But we're talking now about your paycheck once you get to retirement, because Mitch says retirement basically comes down to income. Do you have enough month after month after month where you don't worry about the markets going up and down? Do you have guaranteed income? So a lot of people obviously stay, are kept awake at night when they don't have a plan, I think. But you think about this, and for certainly me and you to a degree, but my parents were teachers and my grandparents, so they all had, they were the era of all pensions, right? Get the gold watch for 50 years and thanks for your service and here's your pension. So when you retire with a pension and a Social Security check, you don't really have to worry that much about your day-to-day expenses because you kind of got it covered right there for most people. Now, when you think about the pensions, Mitch, that was the company handling your pension. So the retirement, your retirement was kind of based on your employer's shoulders. Pensions have gone by the wayside. There are still people that have a pension. You've got a pension from the NFL. Pensions are fantastic if you're lucky enough to have one. But at the end of the day, the pension's gone away. So the 401k was supposed to be a supplement to the pensions when they started the 401k world in 1978, really went into play in the early 80s. But the 401k doesn't, I can go, we all could, right? Go online and look, here's your 401k, here's what you've got in there. You should be able to get about this much off of that, but there's no guarantee. So the pension's disappeared. What's replacing it?
Well, you're right. It's the 401k. But back when the pensions, the onus was kind of on the employers, right? The risk was transferred to the employers to provide that income for you. And now, that's shifted, like you said, from really the 80s on, where the vast majority of Americans don't have a pension. They have the 401k that they've been able to accumulate wealth. They've gotten their company match. And as that grows and as they approach retirement, that lump sum, account value is great, but now you're in the retirement red zone. The game has changed. Now you need to turn this lump sum into an income or a pension, if you will. And the onus is on you now. Now the risk of that money running out falls entirely on you. And there are better ways than not to turn that money into income. And a vast majority of Americans are not aware of those different tools that can be used to do that, just that. And I think that's what keeps people up at night. Hey, we're going to turn this, it's one thing when you're working and that check's hitting your bank account every pay period. But when retirement stops, now it's up to you to have that paycheck hit your account each month or every couple of weeks. And that keeps people up at night and certainly something we see on a continual basis when people reach out to us. So
you think about our grandparents for sure. And you think about the old three-legged stool. Is there still a three-legged stool? What was a three-legged stool? Is there a three-legged stool now?
Yeah, it was Social Security, pension, and savings, right? And for most people, that pension leg is gone, which we've talked about and highlighted. So you still have Social Security, and that can be a confusing thing. When should I take it? My spouse probably will outlive me. What should we do? There's a lot of choices there, right? Hey, I'm still working. Should I take Social Security while I'm still working or not? So there's a lot of choices there that can help optimize people's situations. Personal savings, again, that's your 401k or any other account, IRAs or 403bs, whatever, or non-qualified after-tax savings you might have saved up over time. But that third leg, the pension, is gone, and that brought a lot of stability to people's retirements. And with that being gone now, how do we replace that? How do we turn some of those savings into that pension-like stool or a leg of the stool where we can have some stability and certainty in retirement?
When you think about the old adage, maybe 10, 15 years ago was, boy, you got to have $1 million to be able to retire. Well, we know you've sat down with people that had $2 million, it wasn't enough. And you've sat down with people that had $250,000 to $500,000, it was plenty. Because it's lifestyle based, really. It's about your income, what's going out, what's coming in. But at the end of the day, if somebody had $1 million, I'd say congratulations. You've got $1 million in your IRA or your 401k. But that's not really the whole story, is it? If you have $1 million in, say, a traditional IRA, you really don't have $1 million, do you? I think Uncle Sam's a partner with you there.
Well, you do. We all have the silent partner on our pre-tax accounts, and that number on your statement is never what you really own, and it was never intended to be. You got a tax break on the front end. You didn't get taxed, but that didn't mean it's forever tax-free. And Uncle Sam's going to take whatever percentage he deems appropriate at the time when you take it out. That's the worst part. We're business partners on this 401k, and we don't know what our partner owns, what percentage of it, which is a scary proposition. Nobody's entering into a business relationship not knowing how much of the business they own, right, until the end. And that's what effectively we've done with these 401ks. There's a huge tax burden, both for retirees and retirement. And then if they happen to be fortunate enough to leave some to their heirs as well, that's another issue for the heirs. So you're right. That 401k is not all your money.
So when you think about that and you think about RMD age, required minimum distributions, it's 73 for those that are born in 1959 or earlier. It's 75. It's going to change in 2033 to the age of 75. And that's basically for people born right now in 1960 or later. They could end up changing all that again. They could change the Social Security age. I've seen things where they've talked about, well, you're going to be able to get Social Security at 70. When Social Security started in 1935, the average age was like 62. So people were passing away at 62. Most people weren't getting there. Well, now we know that is not the case. Put a lot of stress on Social Security and Medicare. So they're going to do something to try to even this out a little bit so they don't run out of money, because they have, like me, they got to give me my Social Security. I need that money, Mitch. So it's going to be kind of interesting. Here's the deal, though. When you're thinking about all of this, and when you're talking about your IRA and your 401k and traditional side, does a Roth conversion make sense for you? So when you think about that, the Roth world, that is part of this. When you say, hey, you got $1 million, well, no, you really don't. You have $850,000. Or the market dropped. Now that market just went down 10%, all my money's in there. I got $1 million, now I got $900,000. And then we got taxes going to come out of it. Now we've got $650,000. There's a lot of moving parts here.
There is, and that's such a huge thing, right? I mean, the market volatility alone, right? If you are in the market and I always use the lost decade example of 2000 to 2009, if you retired in 1999 and you still had your money in the market because, boy, it had been so good for so long, right? I've been getting these great returns, and I hear this today because, the last 5 years have been pretty doggone good. The last, 10 years really. And the market's been pretty good. And people are like, oh, I've gotten double-digit returns. Well, that's okay. That's great during the accumulation. But during the decumulation phase, when you enter retirement, shortly before and into your retirement, that is such a critical time. And for the person that retired in 99 and maybe was taking what they thought was a safe withdrawal rate of 4% out of their nest egg, and well, if they were still in the market, they lost 10%, 12%, and 23% the first 3 years of retirement. Now they're in this sandpit. Their principal's shrinking. If they're taking the same amount out each year, they're taking a higher and higher percentage. So it's snowballing the wrong way. And they're in this sandpit trying to climb back to the top. And 2008 comes along, and they're almost back to the top, and then they get cracked at the knees and they fall down. That 10-year period, your annualized return was about minus 1% in the S&P 500 while you're taking withdrawals. Well, that's a problem and a recipe for disaster. So that's something that has to be accounted for. You need to protect your nest egg and make sure that you've got income sources that are not going to run out and run your account dry.
So that's kind of what you try to create for your clients at Mitch Lyons Wealth, I would imagine, is, okay, you've got money in the market, and we all need growth because things are going to cost more down the line. So it's not like, oh, get your money out of the market. Hey, they're bombing places in the country. The markets are getting freaked out. Go to cash. Well, no, that's not the way to go either. It's actually, I think Warren Buffett's line was, hey, when others are greedy, be fearful, and when others are fearful, be greedy. So when the markets go down, it's a time to buy. But the idea, Mitch, is when people retire, they've got money in the market, and if the markets are good, pull a little bit off of that, great. But if the markets are bad, you have another income source to go to where the market monies can go sit there and give them time to recover, right?
I like to keep it simple, the KISS method. A lot of football coaches I played with loved that concept too. Keep it simple, stupid. We didn't look to expand the playbook when we're an 0-4 streak, when we're not winning games. We're trying to simplify things and do them really well. We use a 3-bucket approach: your income bucket, your protected bucket, and your market bucket. If your income bucket is meeting your needs, that's Social Security, pensions, income annuities, rental income, dividend portfolio, whatever it is that's bringing that consistent income each month, If you're meeting your need with that income bucket and you've got another protected bucket that's kind of there, hey, we can get some growth, but we don't want to risk it just in case life happens, the roof blows off, or you lose your transmission, you have an unexpected expense, that's there to protect you for that. And then that market bucket, we don't need to sweat the ups and downs because we're not dependent on it right now for income. We can let the market do its thing over long periods of time. And again, your average retiree is going to have a 25 to 30 year retirement. So you need to have some money in the market, but we don't want the money that we're dependent on next month for income, right? So there's that component, making sure you structure that, and then being efficient with your dollars. You mentioned earlier, the tax effect on your 401ks. Yeah, let's take a look and see if it doesn't make sense to do some Roth conversions strategically, and preferably in advance of retirement and into retirement. Where we can get that out before the RMDs start having to be mandated that you take money out against your will and pay Uncle Sam whatever the prevailing rate is at that time. And a lot of Americans don't foresee lower taxes in our future, and I'm in agreement with them. I think if anything, taxes are going up. We're at historically low tax rates. If we could move some of that money out of the pre-tax and let some of that air out of the tax balloon, oftentimes that's going to give you more in retirement down the line and also leave more to your heirs as well.